When I first started in the gym, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was absolutely lost. And it wasn't that no one tried to help me. So many people gave me so much advice, and all of it seemed like great advice. Problem was, every piece of advice contradicted the last piece of advice. And don't lose track of the fact that I was 9.5 stone and wanted to be a professional wrestler, so I had a lot of work to do. Now, I can't go back in time, but I can certainly stop people from making the same mistakes I did. So here are my 5 top mistakes that I'm going to help you rectify. So before I get into it, it would mean the absolute world to me if you consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell. That way you're supporting me and my plight to continue to make videos on nutrition, exercise and mindset and self-development every week. I thoroughly enjoy doing it, and your support would mean the world to me. Gyms can be very scary places, especially if you've never been before. You know, you can always feel like you don't know what you're doing. And then of course, you don't want to look stupid, so you don't bother asking for any help. And then inevitably, you make loads of mistakes. I certainly did when I first started. So, these are the 5 things that I wish I had known when I started exercising. Number one is be absolutely clear on what your goal is. A lot of people go to the gym and they want to gain muscle, but they also want to lose body fat. Now, you can do both at the same time, but it is very, very difficult. And really, it's really sort of a specialist area, and you should have a trainer and you should have advice and all that sort of thing. Anyway, if you're just a normal gym goer, focus on one at a time. If you're somebody that needs to lose weight first, then do that. Focus on losing body fat. Lose body fat by creating a calorie deficit. If you're somebody that is really, really thin and wants to gain muscle, then you need to be in a calorie surplus. You will not be able to build muscle without being in a calorie surplus. Now, people try to do this at the same time. They try to lose body fat and they try to gain muscle at the same time. That is like driving a car and pushing the brake and the accelerator at the same time. It's just not going to end well. So be very clear on your goal. Also, protein. Protein is extremely important regardless of what you're trying to achieve. The recommendations are roughly 1.5 grams per 1 kilo of body weight. That should get you started, and over time you'll start to work it out and make it more adaptable to you. And lastly, adaptation doesn't happen in the gym. In the gym, you create the stimulus for adaptation. But adaptation happens by being supported by good nutrition, your protein, your calorie deficit, your calorie surplus, and adequate rest. Now, this is the bit that people really get wrong. Rest is so important because that is when the adaptation is going to happen. You need to make sure that you're having rest days. If you're training 7 days a week and you're not a professional athlete, then all you're gonna find is that you're gonna burn out and become very fatigued, if not very, very ill. So what you need to do is make sure that you're having adequate rest. 3 times a week is absolutely fine. As a matter of fact, it's probably ideal. All body workout, something like that would be great. Now, also, it's very important that you're getting a lot of rest at night. So sleeping 8 to 10 hours, whatever you can do. I mean, there's some people that have got kids, so I understand. So getting 8 hours is very, very good, and just be patient. You know, it takes a long time to build the body that you want, and it's fun. It is fun. Enjoy the journey and pay attention to the details. Number 2, make sure you have a workout plan. It's so vital that you have a workout plan. See, a lot of people, myself included, when I first started, I went into the gym and I just started playing around with machines. I didn't want to ask anyone anything because I was embarrassed, I didn't know what I was doing and all that sort of thing. And anyway, at the beginning, you'll make a lot of newbie gains. As soon as you start creating stimulus on the muscles, they will react, they will adapt, but they will very quickly stall. See, having a plan means that you're focused, that you're going to be hitting all areas of the body and creating balance. By not having a plan, what you'll do is what most blokes do, and that is walk into the gym and they will focus on all the mirror muscles, the chest, the biceps and all muscles like that. And then women, they'll focus on their bingo wings and they'll focus on their legs, bums and tums. Not my words, words of the clients, trust me. And what that will do is that will ultimately lead to imbalances within the body. And ultimately that will lead to injury, more than likely. You'll get rotator cuff injuries, or you'll pull a hamstring, or you'll, get a back pain or something like that. So it's very important that you create balance. Something like an all body workout 3 times a week is absolutely ideal, especially at the beginning. And then later on, when you want to start becoming more focused, you can go to a push, which will be something like the shoulders, the triceps, the chest area, anything pushing this way, that way, whichever. And then you're going to do a pull day, which will be anything pulling, which will work on the biceps and the lats and things like that. And then you'll do a leg day, which will be stuff like squats, which is important. Compound movements are extremely important. And a compound movement is basically something that involves you crossing multiple joints. So a squat, for example, where you're crossing the ankle joint, the knee joint, and the hip joint. So anything like that is ideal, because what it does then is it creates really good balance within the body. Number 3. Now, number 3 is probably the one that's most important to me. This was the one that I took the longest to understand and learn, and that is mind-muscle connection. A lot of the time when people are in the gym, they get very excited and they're doing all these different exercises. But for the sake of example here, I'm going to go through something called a bicep curl. So here's my bicep, just here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I used to do when I first started. I'd grab a weight as heavy as I could, and I'd start swinging like this. And I thought I was training my bicep, but really all I was doing was using my shoulder joint to swing a weight. And then I wondered why my biceps didn't grow. But what I've learned over time is mind muscle connection. So now I'm going to deliberately contract the muscle. And you've got 2 types of contractions. You've got the eccentric, which is lowering of the weight in this case, and you've got the concentric. But the key to it is contracting the muscle. So now you can see I have a bicep muscle. Boom, it's contracted. Now I'm deliberately contracting the bicep muscle. Now when I eccentrically load it, I'm stretching them muscle fibers. Now I'm contracting them muscle fibers and concentrically loading it. But I'm doing it deliberately and my arm is shaking. You really do not need a lot of weight to do that, because you're deliberately contracting the muscles and you're creating something called time under tension. It's absolutely vital for adaptation. You will get away with it for a really long time, but you will more than likely, in most cases, get injured before you ever get anywhere close to progress. So for me, do not sacrifice weight for form, and make sure you deliberately contract the muscle. You will have to lower the weights, and that's absolutely fine, but you will make much more progress later down the line. It's all about patience. Number 4. Now, this one's very, very important too, and that is progressive overload. Now, what progressive overload means is every single session that you have in the gym, you need to be making some form of progression. Now, stick with me because this is quite important to understand. And this is what I need you to do. I need you to understand what progressive overload means. Progressive overload, these are some of the ways you can do it. You can increase your reps. So if you're in the gym and you say you're doing 10 reps, next time you can come along and you can go for 11 reps or 12 reps. Increase your sets. Say you've been doing 2 sets of 10, next week you could do 3 sets of 10 if it's appropriate. You could decrease your rest periods. So if for example, you're doing 3 sets of 10 and in between them sets you're having 60 seconds rest, maybe you could try bringing it down to 45 seconds rest. And then lastly, you can increase the load. Now this is the one where I want you to be really careful. A lot of people go into the gym, and let's take a bench press for example. You might be lifting 40 kilos. Now the bar is generally 20 kilos and you've put a template on each side making 40 kilos. So you lift that for your 3 sets of 10. And then you decide you're going to go do another set and you're going to add more weight. You're going to do 2 of the progressive overloads, which is not really recommended. But let's say you tried to do that anyway. And you look around the gym and you decide, oh look, there's 2 5 plates. So now you're going to put a 5 plate on each side. You now bump that up 10 kilos. That's too much. Really, when you're looking for progressive overload and you're using the load as the progression, you should be looking for the smallest increment you can find. And in some cases, that might be 2.5, which is still quite a big jump. So what you can do on that thing, in that situation, is you can say to yourself, I'm going to put 2.5 on each side. That's going to make it 45 kilos. And I'm going to do as many reps as I can without losing form. And that might mean that you only do 6, and that's fine. As soon as you do 6, put the ring back and write it down. That's the last thing I'm going to talk about, making sure you track. But write it down, and next time, go for 7 reps. Time after that, go for 8 reps. And when you get to your 10 reps, Then you can think about making another progressive overload change. And as I said, make sure you track. It's very important. With the best will in the world, you will think that you will remember what you did last session, but you won't. Number 5, be patient. Now, this might just sound a little bit daft, but if I'm honest, it's maybe the most important. Too many people, we live in a world now where, if you want to watch a film, you turn Netflix on, you get it instantly. If you want music, you can go on iTunes, get it instantly. If you want a book, you can go on Amazon, get it instantly. Everything is instant. But training isn't instant. It takes a long time to build the body composition that you want. It does, it takes a long time, and that's the first thing that you have to accept. Once you accept that, it becomes a little bit easier. If you become impatient and you keep chopping and changing your program and your nutrition, it will take even longer. If you're getting a good program from a professional and you're getting sensible nutritional advice that's tailored to your likes and your dislikes, it will work. It's that simple. You just have to have faith in the process. You really do have to have faith. And there'll be days, even I have days, with all the knowledge I've acquired over the 15 years of being in the game, even I get impatient. It's just human nature, and that's cool. But know that patience is the key. The key to it all is patience and consistency. Patience and consistency. And a nice bit of advice I was given very early is never miss twice. If you miss a session, don't miss it twice. Make sure you go the next time. And same with nutrition. If you have a bad meal and you just say, screw it, I'm just gonna have a pizza, that's fine. But don't do it again straight away. Don't let it turn into a pizza and then for breakfast you're having a cooked breakfast and then for lunch you're having burgers. Just never miss twice. That I found really good advice. So to recap, number 1, be clear on your goal. Number 2, have a plan made by a pro. 3, mind-muscle connection. 4, progressive overload. 5, be patient. These are not in any order of priority. They're all as important as each other, and I promise you, if you follow these 5 rules here that I've had to learn the hard way, unfortunately, then you will make the best progress of your life. And that is an absolute promise, because these are the fundamentals. And a lot of people try to skip the fundamentals, but trust me, when you skip the fundamentals, it tends to end badly. It tends to end in you not getting progress, or worse still, injury. So really make sure you spend a lot of time focusing on the fundamentals. And just a word of advice. Be careful who you take advice from. Everything I've told you today, please feel free to go away and research it. You'll find that all the information that I give is pretty sound. So be careful who you take advice from. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people can take performance enhancing drugs and they can pretend they haven't. Now, when you take performance enhancing drugs, the rules change. You're not going to be able to do the things that those people do. Now, I'm not here to say whether it's good or bad. That's not my intention. What I'm here to say is that if you try doing something that somebody is doing when they're on performance enhancing drugs, it can be absolutely detrimental to your health. You can end up in hospital, you can end up seriously ill. So please be careful, it is out there. Like I said, I'm not saying it's good, bad, whatever, I'm just saying that's what happens. Thank you for watching this. These are my 5 things I wish I'd known when I started the gym. And if you enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe, put a comment underneath if you've got any questions or you want to start a discussion. It's much appreciated. Thank you for watching.